What are you looking at? What's your point today?
Well, by now, you've heard a lot about the Espionage Act recently in light of Donald Trump's indictment by special counsel Jack Smith. Many of you have known a great deal about this World War I-era legislation for years, following the cases of Eugene Debs, the Rosenbergs, and all the way up to Julian Assange.
Donald Trump is not a whistleblower or a journalist or a foreign agent. He didn't leak a military report to the press for the betterment of the nation, nor did he hand out anti-war flyers. He is the former president of the United States, accused of stowing away boxes and boxes of some of the most sensitive U.S. national security secrets.
So there's Ali Velshi over on MSNBC making the Trump comparison within all that historical context that we've been hearing so much about recently. He says Trump is different, therefore the implication is, well, maybe it's okay. Well, let's remember, the Espionage Act is basically a blunt force instrument of the security state to punish enemies of their agenda basically at the drop of a hat. That's what the historical context really shows. As you may know, 31 of Trump's 37 new charges were brought under the Espionage Act by Jack Smith. As Eli Lake wrote in the Free Press this week, quote, this is his headline, Trump probably broke the law, but that law shouldn't exist. Probably is an important word there. We actually haven't heard much from Trump's defense team in the last few days. It would hardly be shocking to learn the indictment was built by excluding maybe some key context, given our DOJ's history of making similar decisions when it comes to Trump-related FISA warrants, for instance. But who knows? Not me, certainly not anyone else in the media, and that's okay. In terms of whether Trump's conduct was dumb, dangerous, and a violation of this specific law, the current evidence suggests the answer to every single one of those questions is yes. But two things can be true at once. Trump's conduct was dumb and silly, and so is the Biden administration's. Why? Well, Eli Lake makes a lot of good points. Some of them are critical. Here comes the what about segment. What about Joe Biden? What about Hillary Clinton? Isn't it facile and partisan whataboutisms to not just admit Trump is corrupt rather than pointing elsewhere? Well, first, nobody needs to admit Trump is corrupt. He basically campaigned on being corrupt. And second, as Andy McCarthy pointed out on Fox this week, the law is basically whataboutism. You're always weighing precedent, meaning what about this person, what about that person? This is exactly the argument James Comey made when he announced the FBI would not pursue charges against Hillary Clinton in 2016. This is an exact quote from his statement the day he announced he wasn't going to bring charges. Quote, although there is evidence of potential violation of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Prosecutors necessarily weigh a number of factors before bringing charges. There are obvious considerations like the strength of the evidence, especially regarding intent. Responsible decisions also consider the context of a person's actions and how similar situations have been handled in the past. Intent, by the way, is pretty key in the Trump indictment. This exact statement could be extended, the Comey statement, to Joe Biden's trove of around 20 to 30 classified documents that were located last year, some of which contained very sensitive information about Iran, Ukraine, and more. Clearly, you could make the case he was in violation of the Espionage Act, or there's pretty strong evidence he was in violation of the Espionage Act. And yes, Trump is charged with having many more documents, and he's also charged with obstruction. That absolutely makes his case more serious, although Clinton could possibly have been hit with obstruction charges too. But if you're going to charge one president with Espionage Act violations that another could be charged with, and likely won't, given what happened with Clinton, for instance, you don't have the moral high ground when it comes to, quote, the rule of law, which James Comey has been talking about all over the media recently. Worse yet, this is exactly the point about the Espionage Act. It is a blunt force instrument the security state clings to. The Obama administration used it to seize James Rosen's emails and target many others, many times over. This is why the journalists reflexively siding with Smith here, because they hate Trump, are playing an incredibly dangerous game. The Espionage Act exists to punish them. It's so intentionally broad, it can be used to do whatever the feds want with it when they want to. Obama suffered little repercussions for his abuses of the Espionage Act, but journalists and whistleblowers did. The more the media cheers Smith and Merrick Garland and Biden on, the more power this law will continue to have over them.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.